Welcome back to ReZero Anime Review, episode number 31. You're probably thinking, wow, you actually did it on the right day this time. Unlike last episode, you did on frickin' Saturday. Well, on Wednesday because One Piece came out, so I didn't exactly have a good reason why I missed it. Though, actually, no, I actually did it on Friday, believe it or not. Yes, it was Friday. I did a review for it. Matter of fact, I did it actually for noon, believe it or not. Now, in the case this episode, this one is talking about the 43rd episode of the anime. Yes, 43rd, which is called The Day Betelgeuse Laughed. Yep, this is taken from chapter 2 to 3 of 14. Yeah, probably from the second half of chapter 14 and from chapter 2 from book 14, and presumably about half, or probably the whole thing of chapter 3. Now, despite that awesome cliffhanger from last week, the episode does not start there, believe it or not. It starts on the outside, with Subaru in the group talking to Shima and her experience with the trial. Yep, she goes in. Basically, her memory that she visits is when Ray Mazer was alive, and she comes across, like, as soon as she gets there, comes across Beatrice. Yes, Beatrice. Now, this is presumably, and who walks out, and then we see a beautiful white hair woman come out. It's Akina, the witch agreed. Yep, so this is presumably 400 years in the past. And there's another character pops up in this flashback. Even Super's like, wait, he was there too? I mean, I get Beatrice, but why the heck was he there for? Well, there's a reason for that. So, basically, Beatrice is basically treated like this was mentioned, I believe, in book 13, that Beatrice was in fact created by Echidna to kind of be her own daughter in a way. Even though she looked like a little girl, even though she was 400 years old. So, it's nice that the Razor, she of course is very nice to Echidna. Refers to her in the sub as Echidna Sama, probably in the dub, probably Lady Echidna. And of course, take care of her. You become her all the time. It's like, okay, perfectly fine. And of course, they have her like, you see one briefly here, and they don't see her again until the Amelia stuff in the second half of this episode. Because this episode is kind of a split episode in a way. We focus on this with the first half, and the second half we focus on, Amelia, presumably leading into the rest of book 14. Heck, there's even an image in this episode that actually is the damn cover. Yeah, where it's basically Amelia, her mother, and the Archbishop Sloth when he was younger on the cover. Basically, the very same exact image from the cover, which I do appreciate the anime having a nod to that. That was a very good nod to the cover of the actual light novel. But that's in the second half of the episode. So, they basically, it's like, of course, the Echidna basically chastises Beatrice for kind of in the way talking down to her. She doesn't like to do that. So, basically, she apologizes. And then later on, we see her helping her out with the laundry. And then we see her again. Razor again. And it's Roswell. And now, in case you're curious, though, this is not the present day Roswell. Oh, no. This is the past Roswell. The very first Roswell that counter Echidna. Yeah, the one from the past. Yeah, from 400 years ago. That's in the course of the series. And despite the fact this is Roswell, you're probably thinking, wait, that's not the right outfit. He's not wearing the right attire. This is a past version of him. That's the reason why for that. And, well, even basically Subaru chats like, oh yeah. Like, they mentioned about Echidna, the fact the rest of the account, but he's like, they asked, did you count Echidna? He's like, yes. Yes, I did. Oh, he said, yeah. And doesn't go into detail exactly about the meeting per se, but he does admit he has met her. Though, basically mentioning Beatrice, that was interesting because it's a good big character for Beatrice in this episode. And also mentioned this there because they mentioned before she was taking out the rotation cycle because of her going on the trial. Yeah. And though she apparently is dying and she basically telling the story, which, yeah, it's good the fact that, and then we cut to, we see Amelia, she's unconscious, she's leaning against the wall, And we pick up right where last week's episode left off, where Gauss is confronted by Regula, the Archbishop of Greed. And a woman, a very short woman, about the same size as Raisin Mayer. About the same size, so she can remember people shorter. Her name is Pandora. Yes, her name is Pandora. They've heard her as Pandora in the episode. This woman is presumably the head of the witches cult. Yep, she is the head of the witches cult. Oh yeah, and by the way, Regular, just like in present day, he hates it when people interrupt him when he's talking. Just like in present day, he hasn't really changed at all. So he attacks Goose, though Amelia basically gets with her, which is real. This episode will be her actual mother. Yep, her actual mother. Though apparently it's kind of hinted that Amelia had two mothers, though it's not fully delved into here. It's kind of weird because Amelia is half human. So they have to protect. Lucky enough that their friend Kurt, who's basically kind of like Faro's second command, basically has to go away. So she runs to the flower field, and her bit ends when she comes across the door from last week's episode. Now, in the case of what happens with Goose, well, he opens up a box with a symbol on it. What's inside? A witch factor. Yep. Which witch factor? Sloth. Basically, the unseen hands. Yes, the same thing he has in present day. So this is basically how he got it. Like, okay, that's interesting. I'm sure Heppercorp were like, what? That's how he gets it? Okay. A box. He just opens up and just put it on his chest. And somehow he's accepted basically being a witch factor. It's like, his witch factor is accepted by his body. And then Pandora is like, I grant you the title of the Archbishop of Sloth. He's like, I don't care. I'm going to still kill you anyways. Though Fedora herself does come back after leaving Amelia with her second command. And after Regulus basically chats for a while, he gets, of course, get the crapping of him, biting not only Goose, but also Fedora. And then he's basically, like, Pandora tells him to calm down. He's like, did you tell me to calm down? So apparently he vaporizes her. I'm not kidding, he seriously vaporizes her. And then she shows up, let's admit, like, she's alive and well. How? Heck, even Fedora's like, how did you come back? Weren't you destroyed? She's like, what are you talking about? That didn't happen. Oh my gosh! Like it's something though that the actual character points out an actual plot hole in this episode, though it's complete unintentional. It could be that Pandora is immortal. Yep. So basically, she punches down Regulus and says, "Oh yeah, you're actually at home in your mansion, surrounded by all your wives." I'm like, how many wives does this man have? And of course, Amelia says like, "Oh, it's one of the archbishops. It's Archbishop of the Witches' Cult, a Sin Bishop, a Sin Archbishop of the Witches' Cult." Now, I'm surprised that Amelia didn't point out though to, not Amelia, Kedna didn't point out to Amelia. Subaru mentioned the word to me, but I didn't know what the thing was, and she's probably thinking, this is an archbishop. Interesting. She's probably also thinking, so this is one representing my authority. Man, he's handsome. That's what she's probably thinking. But I'm sure she probably doesn't care one bit about this guy anyways, because she's dead. So then she sort of in a way moves Amelia over to where she is, and of course as she runs away, and then we see her go to the seal. Even though we see Fedora and Goose fighting Pandora, we later see at the end of the episode that she has arrived at the door from last week. How and when she got there, never explained. Probably explain next week's episode. Yep. This episode is actually pretty good. It moved at a bit of faster pace than last week, which that's quite interesting. Yes, and of course Amelia, the young Amelia, keeps thinking that maybe she broke the rules, that she's been a bad girl. And Edgar's like, no, you've been a good girl. So this is not your fault at all, despite the fact she's constantly blaming herself for all the mess basically in this episode. And this is basically just great writing on the part of the people who write this episode. It's just fantastic. Can't wait to hear the dub for this episode. I think the dub's been released for it. I have not checked on Crunchyroll yet, if in fact the dub's been released yet for this particular set episode for second half of season 2. I mean, we're only like 6 episodes in. We're roughly halfway through this episodes. Well, actually, there's about 7 left. Yep, there's about 7 left. And then that'll be it for season 2. Yep. One thing I really hope, though, is that we get a season 3. Why? There's still plenty of source material to go through. Oh, yes, there is plenty. Like, if you're curious, though, like, how many books have to adapt? Well, I think presumably the season will probably go to, I'd say, probably book 15. So, you got presumably like 10 books left. So, yeah, you got plenty of source material you could adapt from. Like, I would say that if this season covers up to book 15, which basically just covers 6 books. Yeah, 6 books in one season. So, presumably, if there's season 3 for the show, they'll probably just cover books 16 and 20. That's just my personal guess. Though, one thing I kind of hope, though, is that we're not waiting 4 years for another season. I hope not. That would be kind of dumb. In any case, the first season, it was probably not surprising due to the fact the first season pretty much at that point, all the books were released at that point. Now, there's plenty of room. You could do another season this year. Like, I would probably think they probably wouldn't start it this year, but probably could announce them, probably do it next year. I mean, you could do 5 books. Don't need to do 8. I mean, if the season does end basically adapting just basically 6.5 books, I don't think people have a problem with it. No, because I think book 15 is the first you can go for the season while going through as far as they can with it. Now, if you're curious, like, how many chapters left to adapt for book 14, 4. Yeah, 4. So, maybe they're trying to stretch that out a bit because the fact that the English release book 15 is not technically even released yet. Yes, I did check the release to book 15. That's actually coming in 3 weeks, believe it or not. Yes, 3 weeks. So, presumably they might finish adapting book 14 either by 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now. It just depends. Yep, so, excuse me, that's it for Sigil Review. Next video is going to be a review of the newest episode of 7 Deadly Sins. That'll be up soon, okay? 2 6 video. Bye.